All right, do believe we're live. Double check. Yes. Okay. It's been a little while, but we are back. Fireside chat number 247 today. Given the 1 week off, of course, we have a fair number of announcements. I'll start with pretty standard end of the month just passed us, so we have an officer meeting coming up this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. If you are an officer, which, as a refresher, is anyone chief, petty officer, and higher, you are welcome to attend. If you're a warrant officer or higher, you are required to attend if possible. If you can't make it, do let me know in that case. On more exciting news, House Deputy has a new night order. We haven't had a night order debut in quite a long time, and I can't remember off the top of my head when it was, because I know we had House Warden created, and they debuted with the house was created with a night order, I believe. And the Varger officially reactivated, and both of those would have been around 2018 and 2019, I believe. Not 100% on that, but I think that's right. So it's at least been a few years since we've had a new night order. Although, well, a new house-based night order, I should say. We had the Abyss Watchers debut about 2 years ago, and the Knights of Hell debuted at some point. 2020? No, that probably would have been late 2019. Yeah. So we've had a few, but it's I'd say it's still been a while. And it's a pretty momentous day because, of course, the White Knights of Festivity were very big and famous and accomplished Night Order, if I do say so myself. So I discussed with a lot of the White Knights, and the White Knights, for your information, are kind of inactive right now. I mean, we are here, but the Order itself does not maintain active communications or operations or anything like that. So it's essentially in the same spot as the Rangers of House Stan and the Jade Falcons of House Kilroy, in that they are dormant, retired Special Forces units, is what they're classified as. So basically, of course, the expectation should be that knights still conduct themselves the way they should, and are held to that higher standard. But aside from that, it isn't as if we've got jobs assigned to specific members of, for example, the White Knights. But replacing all that, we have a new Night Order now, which is pretty cool. It is the Demon Hunters of Laudel H, and it is a little bit of information posted in announcements. And there's a link there to About WA, which takes you right into the Special Forces Unit section of About WA, which talks about all the current Night Orders and Special Forces units and how they work. Of course, the Demon Hunters of Laudel H are specific to House Deputy, so some of our duties are maintaining and mastering the clan's lore and history and teaching it, but especially for House Deputy and of House Deputy. Recruiting, of course, primarily for our house, but also specifically, we are hoping to have some focus on assisting the other houses just because Deputy is flourishing so much right now. I think we kind of have a responsibility, if not an opportunity, to help some of the smaller houses and see what we can do in that regard, outside of just, doing some kind of strange thing like an adoption or something like that. That's not really fitting with our customs, but helping these smaller houses recruit is something that we can probably do. Um, and of course, we have our own traditions and such, including Night Order specific traditions, but also maintaining the house's traditions, ancestral names, but more importantly, relics of House Deputy are basically maintained by the Night Order. And really, the Night Order are involved with leadership of House Deputy as well, not just because I lead both, but because the Knight Commander of the Order will sit on the Council of Houses that is composed of all of the leadership of all of the houses of WA. And the Night Order itself is obviously going to be, very closely involved with any kind of house leadership and administration, whether that be in house wars or changes like lineage charts, coats of arms, anything like that. Um, yeah, I think let's see. Beyond that, new tabletop games channel. So there's tabletop simulators, players role, and get roles, but that channel is really just a catch-all for any kind of tabletop games, card games, anything like that. So do check that out. And the Saga of the Sundering is off of hiatus, I would say, for the time being. There are currently 2 new chapters there. It's linked in announcements. It is on the forums in the new edda, but it's also in the library on Discord. You can check it out. I think it's just at the very top, but there's, of course, the tags at the top if you're not familiar with the library channel under the library category. Check it out. You can sort of filter by tags, so you can filter by sagas, and then you're going to be looking at a pretty short list of sagas. 6 in total. The newest of which is the Saga of the Sundering, which is in progress still. So 2 new chapters. There's a total of 6 chapters out. As far as how many chapters are there going to be in total, I'm not sure. 10 is my rough estimate. Chapter 7 is well underway, probably close to being completed. Some of this is limited by, well, just me working on it, but also research. A lot of this saga has involved me going back through old DMs and screenshots and conversations on the server and in the all thing, and using that both to kind of base the dates of events and chapters off of. I do mess with, there's a couple things I've moved around slightly, but not very much, honestly. A lot of it is pretty much true to the day. And trying, yeah, I mean, a lot of this, of course, it's a fantasy saga, but I'm kind of proud of the fact, and also it's been a lot more work trying to actually draw on a lot of actual events for basically everything that has happened in this saga. And of course, there's always the debates, about our sagas, how historical are they? Are these history or just fiction? Of course, there's something in between, I think, is what I'd have to say. But there's variance between the sagas. The Saga of the Stone Stars is very, very fantastical. It is really just a lot of fantasy stories and storylines and battles and things that overall, I think, illustrate or kind of a metaphor for what happened. But it would be hard to say that they are really, really strongly, specifically rooted in history. While the Saga of the Sundering is, while yes, there's still that kind of fantasy metaphor present, it's much, much more specifically rooted in history and what actually happened. A lot of it is constructed with individual scenes and individual events, and even dialogue is, I don't like to just like copy and paste something from a Discord conversation, A, because it feels strange to write a story that is composed of just copy-pasted messages from that actually happened, but B, because of just obviously the tone of the story is this fantasy, kind of high fantasy epic, so a lot of the way that we normally talk on Discord does not sound exactly like that. So that's why I've kind of adjusted some things, but a lot of dialogue is very closely follows actual conversations, and even the conversations that are there sometimes are just representative of a series of conversations over a longer period of time. So it's been interesting, and it's been kind of a trip down memory lane, I think, to go through and sort of write this saga, because it is so much rooted in things that actually happened. I think it's actually to the point that in some ways the story almost tells more than the history does, because it's kind of hard to really infuse feeling into history, I think. And I think a lot of the Sundering is about feeling, whether that be feelings of loyalty to the clan or feelings of just being angry enough to just make or join a rebel clan, or being torn between the two. I think that emotional aspect of it is very central to what happened, and it's something that comes through in stories more so than history. I would say. I mean, the treatise I wrote on the Sundering is probably something in the middle, as far as I think it does capture more of the emotion than just a very dry history would. But um, at the same time, I think it's there's an effect you can have with fantasy and with fiction on the reader that maybe is desired, that it maybe is important that you can't necessarily have with just a very dry history again. So anyway, yeah, I'm. It's been a struggle writing it, but I'm pretty happy so far, and I would say expect chapter 7 pretty soon. There are other pieces of the saga, future chapters that are actually already written. Just the way I've kind of written it with these scenes is a lot of times I just kind of am ready to go and in the mood to write a specific scene, and I kind of know, okay, this needs to happen. Um, so I'll write that out, and knowing that, okay, we got to figure out how we get here now, because this is going to be chapter 9 or 10 or something like that. But yeah, hopefully that provides some insight. So do check that out. I think that's about it, though. So I'm going to go ahead and head off for office hours shortly.